Alright everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm sure all of you know by now that Oblivion Remastered just got released last week, and it was an amazing stealth release out of nowhere that surprised all of us. I'm having a great time with the game so far, just like everybody else, and if you're familiar with Oblivion already, then the gameplay itself won't be that much of a surprise for you, because really the only thing that has changed are the graphics. But there are many people who are playing the Oblivion Remaster who never played the original Oblivion back in 2006. People that might have played Skyrim but never went back to play Oblivion because it was old and dated and quite janky. Well, the game is still quite janky, but whether that's for the best or the worst, that's for you to decide. But anyway, I wanted to share with everybody some gameplay tips for all the newcomers out there, people who have never played Oblivion before. There's quite a radical difference between Oblivion and Skyrim gameplay-wise. So I'll stop rambling and I'll just go ahead and get into the tips. So the first tip has to do with lockpicking. Lockpicking is a completely different system than it is in Skyrim, and honestly, I like Oblivion's lockpicking better than one in Skyrim. Skyrim changed the lockpicking by adding the Fallout style, where you just move the pin left and right till you find a magical position. Oblivion's was based on timing of the pins, and pushing them up till they hit a certain moment with the pin itself. A lot of people are having much difficulty with the lockpicking system, and it's quite understandable because it can be difficult if you can't figure it out. There's two methods of lockpicking in this game. Number one is the one that everybody tries to do, and it's the one that people struggle with. I guess you could say the intended way of lockpicking, and that is moving the pin up till you find the quote-unquote slow one, and when it hits the top, you click enter, and it puts the pin in place. That's how you're supposed to do it, and it can become quite difficult on those higher level locks. It's all a test of your reaction speed. Now, there is a better method of lockpicking that has been coming out recently, and I'll show you that right now. I call this the rhythm method. Basically, you're going to want to find the slow pin still, the pin that falls the slowest compared to the other ones. You're going to want to keep pressing up on that pin over and over again until it's in a rhythm, like. Once you get a rhythm like that, then you're going to keep that rhythm in your mind. Safely press the pin along with the rhythm. This method is so much easier to do, and I have not broken nearly as many pins as I have with the old method. Trust me, it works really well. Once you get doing it, you'll never go back. And I can guarantee you those 4 and 5 pin locks are going to be so much easier to do now. Now, my next tip has to do with spells. There are a lot more spells in Oblivion than there are in Skyrim, and there are some really cool spells in this game. But my favorite spell of all is Detect Life. Now, Detect Life is somewhat present in Skyrim, but only in a few forms, and honestly, it's not that good. Detect Life in Oblivion is basically a wall hack spell. When you cast it, you can see any living creature within like 100 feet of you. Now, why I would say this is so crucial is because there are a lot of quests in this game that depend on stealth, sneaking, and remaining undetected. The Dark Brotherhood quests in these games are like that, and a lot of the contracts will require that you remain undetected when you are completing your kill, or you'll get a bounty or whatever. And in the Thieves Guild, you have to remain undetected, obviously, because you don't want to get caught stealing or whatever. And yes, these two quests, by the way, are much better than the ones in Skyrim. Go ahead and do those if you have never done them before. They are a thrill and probably the best part of Oblivion, I would say. But anyway, yeah, I would get a Detect Life spell. They're just going to make your game so much easier. It's a very fun spell to use, and you can plan out your stealth a lot better with this spell. It's also very cheap to cast in the low-level versions, so don't even worry about that either. And speaking of spells, Oblivion has another cool feature related to spells, and that is spell making. Yes, you can make your own spells in this game, and oh my goodness, it is the best thing ever. Now, it does have a quite lengthy requirement in order to make these spells. First of all, you have to join the Mages Guild, which obviously that's not too hard to do. All you do is go up to a leader of the Mages Guild at a branch, and you talk to that person, and they let you in with no problem. The problem is that you have to get recommendations from all of the branches of the Mages Guild, and I believe there are 6 cities you must travel to and do a quest in. But once you do all of those missions, which, yeah, it's going to take you a while, you get to go into the main branch, the Imperial City area of the Mages Guild. Here is where you will get 2 services offered to you: spellmaking and enchanting. This is the only place in the game where you can do these 2 things, so remember that. But anyway, I'm just going to be focusing on the spellmaking aspect in this video. So how spellmaking works is that you must know a spell and have it in your magic inventory before you can make that spell or put it into a spell. And let me just go ahead and tell you this, there's very few limitations with this spellmaking system. If you want to have a fireball spell that has a 100-foot radius, you can absolutely do that. The only limitation is you have to be able to cast that spell and be the appropriate level in order to make that spell. So keep that in mind. You can't just make a super overpowered spell right off the bat. The spellmaking system is very good in my build because I made my own Detect Life spell that has a much bigger radius and a time. And I also made like a Regenerate Health spell that I like very much. But this is a very good system. You can get absolutely creative with this. Have fun with it. There's so many interesting things you can do with the spellmaking system. So go ahead and do the Mages Guild and tell me what it's like in the comments. The durability system. A lot of people hate it, but let me tell you how to get past it and make it a lot easier. So normally to fix your damaged items, your armor and weapons in this game, you would go to a blacksmith. And this can get A, tedious because you might not always be around a blacksmith, and B, very expensive because these high level items in Oblivion that are enchanted and like ebony and glass and stuff are going to cost a lot of gold to fix them. So I would highly recommend that you start practicing the armorer skill. All you need to do this is repair hammers, and you can find repair hammers anywhere in the game, and they're not that expensive to buy either at both general merchants and the blacksmiths. Repair hammers let you fix your stuff yourself. You don't have to pay anybody to do it. And once you get a high enough level, which isn't that high, I think at level 25 is the base requirement for you to be able to repair your own enchanted stuff. So if you start off the game with repairing your own stuff, you won't have to pay out of pocket for fixing all your gear. So yeah, I highly recommend that you do your own repairing. It'll save you a lot of money and it's just better in the long run. Alright, for all you new players out there, if you want just a bit of free loot right off the bat, you can take anything you want from the crates and barrels around the Imperial City for free. There's no restriction on it. Just go into like the market district and take whatever you want from the crates. Sometimes you can find repair hammers, you can find gold, lockpicks, and even food to start off with alchemy. Because food is an alchemy ingredient in this game, and it's usually for restore fatigue. So this can be a good way to grind your alchemy up, get some repair hammers, and get your items for just a low-level character. And speaking of free loot, I highly recommend that you join both the Fighters Guild and the Mages Guild in this game, because once you do that, you can take anything you want from all of the Fighters Guild branches and all of the Mages Guild branches, and you can loot all of those buildings for free. You can take anything you want, all the weapons, the armor, especially the one in Coral. The Fighters Guild branch in Coral has a fine steel sword and a silver short sword that you can get right off the bat at level 1 for free. And it's probably the best weapon you can get right off the bat within like 10 minutes of the game. So yeah, do that if you want a bit of free stuff. Alright, my next tip has to do with leveling. Now, the leveling system in this game is quite interesting, and it's kind of infamous, honestly. There's been a lot of people struggling with this game, especially past level 15 or so, because the enemies in this game get outrageously hard. You're going to fight Daetra, the spider-looking things, clan fears, all these very high-level enemies can be quite difficult to fight, and there's going to be a lot of them during the main quest, so keep that in mind. This problem is exacerbated if you're playing on the normal difficulty, which is Adept, or even higher, and it gets worse when you turn up the difficulty. So how I play this game is, once I hit level like 10 or something, I start slowing down my leveling, and what I mean by that is I don't get to rest on a bed every chance I get to level up. I hold off leveling so I can accumulate my skills and gain a little bit of strength against these higher level enemies. Because if you level up too fast in this game, you're just not going to be strong enough to fight these high level enemies if you just level up, level up, level up. So yeah, don't always take that opportunity to level up when you see it in the top right corner. Just be patient once you reach like level 10 or 12, because that's when the game starts cranking up the difficulty, so to speak. And if you're still having problems with the difficulty of this game, especially mid and late game, yes, the enemies are going to be meat tanky. That's not surprising at all. That's how the original Oblivion was. And that mostly has to do with how the difficulty system in this game works. Going from Adept, the normal difficulty, to Apprentice difficulty, one step lower, will increase the damage you do by like 3 times, and enemies will deal way less damage to you. So if you ever need to just turn down the difficulty for a split second, don't feel ashamed to do it, because sometimes this game is quite unbalanced, like past level 15. I haven't had to do that yet because I'm only like level 13, because I know how this game works, so keep that in mind. If you want to make more money in this game, I highly recommend that you haggle at every merchant. You can always haggle at least a little bit, just press a button right there on their menu and crank up the price just a bit. Now the higher speechcraft and stuff you have, the more money you're going to be able to get, and also the more that person likes you, the more money you will be able to get for your stuff. So yeah, don't always miss on haggling, you just get free money from it, so go ahead and do that. Now this has to do with haggling. It's the fame and infamy system in this game. Every positive quest that you do in this game gives you fame. That is your reputation in the world of Oblivion. The more good things you do, the more people will recognize you. When you click on their reputation system in the bottom left, that number in the middle will steadily go up as you do more things in this game. Or alternatively, the more bad things you do, like Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhoods, that number will go down. So it's always a balance of these two stats, fame and infamy. Now what this affects in the game is that there's a lot of talking to people in this game and getting information from them, and you can't always pay them off like you could in Skyrim. Having a higher reputation around the world will make people like you more, and they will be more likely to give you information, so keep that in mind. A good way to gain a lot of positive reputation fast is to do the main questline. Alright, before I leave this video, I do want to talk about one more elephant in the room with Oblivion, and that is the PC performance. This is going to be my bonus tip, I guess you could say. A lot of us are playing this game on PC right now, and I mean a lot. And for the vast majority of us, we cannot run this game at 60 frames per second or higher. It's just too taxing on our computers, especially because the majority of people have 8 gigabytes or less VRAM. We're on like 60 series NVIDIA cards. So to help the performance of this game, let me give you a few tips. Number 1, let the game sit in the main menu before you start playing, and this will let the game compile all the shaders, which will help stuttering a lot. My second tip would be to reduce that texture setting down from high or ultra to medium, especially if you have 8 gigabytes or less of VRAM, because VRAM limitations is what causes a lot of stuttering for most people. Now turning down your textures will also decrease your anisotropic filtering, so to combat this, go into your drivers and crank your anisotropic filtering up to 16x, and you'll get sharper textures. Another thing I would do in the drivers, if you're an NVIDIA app person, is to enable DLSS 4.0. It's a very easy thing to do. You can look it up how to do it yourself, and this will give you a sharper, cleaner image using DLSS, which will give you more performance and the game looks better. I also manually set the CPU priority on Oblivion to high before I play, set a 60 FPS cap on the game. Now doing all these things and tweaking a few settings, I went from running this game at like the mid 40s to a almost stable 60 frames per second, but it still stutters. It stutters for everybody in this game. Even if you have an RTX 5090, doesn't matter what you have, you're going to stutter. It's just how this game works with Unreal Engine 5. But anyway, I hope all of you are having an amazing time with Oblivion. I think it's probably one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm so glad that we got a remaster of this game, because it's honestly such a good game, and there's so many people that have never played Oblivion before, Skyrim people especially, that are going back and playing this for the first time, and I think that's such a great thing. If any of these tips were helpful, please let me know in the comment section, and with that, I'll see you next time.